Welcome to the 2023 Coaching Summit. This Coaching Summit is brought to you by us, Zoe Hawkins and Joe Wheatley from Inga Company, a global coaching training organisation. It is our mission to make coaching as accessible as possible to as many people as possible, and this Coaching Summit is one of the ways in which we do that. If you'd like to connect with us outside of this summit, then please follow us on Instagram, connect with us on LinkedIn, or join our Facebook group, The Coaching Crowd. We encourage you to share your learnings from these sessions and tag us in our social channels so we can share in the learning with you. But for now, sit back and enjoy the session. We can't wait to hear what you think.
Hello everybody, welcome to the session with Cheryl Thornton. I'm so delighted to be able to introduce Cheryl and her session to you. I'm Jo Wheatley, I'm co-founder of Inga Company, a global coaching training business, and we are hosts of the Coaching Summit, where we support coaches in our communities to be able to share their knowledge, skills and experience with you. Hope you've had loads of value from the summit so far. Seeing all the feedback has been amazing, and we're so pleased you can be here. So Cheryl's session here is coaching for a CEO mindset. Cheryl is an executive coach. She trained with us, a beautiful, kind soul, and she supports newly promoted women in senior leadership roles. She's got a particular passion for supporting the busy leader who aspires to be a CEO, but questions, will this ever be me? So in Cheryl's interactive session, she's going to help to clarify where people are now, where they want to be, and challenge thinking so that people can decide on action to move forward. So maybe you're in that position yourself. You might be thinking about starting a coaching business, which is where you become a CEO. And that's often something that is overlooked when we make a career pivot into running our own business. You might be in an internal role in a senior leadership position yourself. So if so, this session is for you. Or you might be a coach who supports clients at this particular point in their lives. So there's something for everyone. So enjoy the session with Cheryl.
Thanks so much, Jo. I'm just going to bring up my screen, if I can do that, so you can all see. Right, so welcome to my session for Coaching for a CEO Mindset. It's so wonderful to have so many of you here participating. This is an interactive session, so I would really love you to use the chat to share your experiences. I find that when I run things like this, lots of people get so much from the group that they're with and how they comment, and then they see that they're not alone, it's not, and they see different experiences. So if you can be as interactive as possible, that would be great. This is 30 minutes for you to focus on you. How often do we gift that to ourselves? So switch off your devices. I know you might get distracted by emails if you're at work, but if you can, just turn down those notifications, because it's 30 minutes for you to focus on something that you really want for the future. And it's a gift to yourself. So please gift yourself that. There's no right and wrong to any of the things that I ask you about in my session. It's all about kind of learning and just sort of sharing and seeing what other people put in. If you are more of a reflective learner and you have to write down some of the questions, take them away, sleep on it, reflect on it, that's absolutely fine. Just see the interaction of others and read through those, and they may well inspire you as well. And this is really about starting a journey in time for you. So, I've only got 30 minutes. I'd love to have a magic wand and gift it all to you to make it happen tomorrow. But you are going to be doing some kind of mental lifting in this. So it does take some breakthrough, and that takes time. So, and effort and energy. But you're here today, so that's great that you've given yourself that. Now, what I want to start with today is a question for all of you. And if you could put in the chat what your initial sort of thoughts are when you answer this, that would be great. So do you think people don't become CEOs because they don't have the skill or the knowledge, or they don't have the belief? Beliefs coming up, combination from someone there, but mostly belief is coming up from most people. I've seen Stacey's, but I've seen a lot of unskilled CEOs. Great to see you here, Stacey. Yes, I've seen that too. But belief is a big one. So that's why we're all here today, right? This is about the mindset. It's about working the mindset. But lots of the things we focus on, which you'll come to see in some of the slides I'm going to go through as to where you are now, our mind often takes us to a lot of more of the practical, more the kind of the knowledge, the skill. So what I want to ask you next, and what I want you to think about with this next slide, is what's your story? So what is the story that your mind is telling you? Just have a think about that. So I'm just going to bring up the next slide. So what is the story? And we all like to make up stories in our mind. We all like to follow that belief and tell ourselves the narrative. And some of the people that I've coached in my time that have wanted to really step up and do something different, they start here. They just sort of have things like, I don't think it's an option for someone like me. Are you telling yourself that? The CEO I knew 2 years ago, or I have now, is amazing, and I'm not sure I can do it as well as them, or I'm not them, so how can I do it? Or you might love the idea, but what if you get it wrong? That's really sort of playing in your mind as well. Or I don't think I'm qualified to do it. Or maybe it's, I'm not sure I'm ready to take the big chair. Or as Joe said, start my own business, step into my own space, be my own CEO. I can definitely resonate with that one. Or you might be sitting there going, I'm raring to go, Cheryl. Can't wait to be a CEO, but I never have the time and I need to plan it. So tell me, what is it your story is? And you can either indicate it through the numbers, or if you've got something completely different, then just let me know in the chat. So what have we got here? Let's have a look. Don't have enough time. That's come up. Do I want it? Will I lose? That's a really interesting one. Not experienced enough. Not strategic enough. Okay. Too late. Abigail, if you can elaborate on that, is that too late in time to do it, or you feel you've missed your opportunity? What's that? Female CEO role models. Yeah, Anna, that's a good point. Can't do it as well. Yeah. So there's a range of answers. But I think what you've got to connect with is kind of, what is this story at the moment that your narrative that you're telling yourself? I'd love to do it, but. So it's really interesting to get that sort of first level. I've just set up Louise as a solo coach. It still feels odd to be the one making the business decisions. Yeah, can definitely resonate with that myself. So that's the story. That's kind of what's going on and is playing in your mind. And by just identifying that and looking at that and saying, okay, so this is what I'm currently telling myself. But what about getting a bit deeper? What about connecting now with how you feel when you think about becoming a CEO? So let's go a level on. So if you think about that, I'm going to be a CEO, I'm going to be successful. What comes up for you there? What emotion do you connect with there? And again, if you can pop it in the chat, that would be great. Now, for some people that I've coached again and supported, they're stuck in the what if and the fear of moving forward. What if I don't get it right? What if I fail? That comes up a lot. It's very common, and you're not alone. And then there's frustration because you know you've got the potential, but you've got something holding you back. Something's just tethering you back and not letting you move forward. Perhaps you look around you and you see people that are doing really well. And especially with social media, I mean, we all go down that rabbit hole, don't we? We scroll through and we see people maybe that we know or that we've connected with in the past, and they seem to be flying, and that envy comes up. You know, why can't I do that? Why can't that be me? Or maybe you're annoyed because you want to take that step, you want to take that leap. Maybe you don't know, but you just know you've got a block. So what have we got there? Let's have a look to see what's in the chat here. It's scary, fear, excited, but with nerves, yeah. Doubt, what if I fail? All of them, I think somebody's put here as well. Okay, so this is like the layers of an onion. So you now know your story you're telling yourself. And the reason I want to kind of get you to connect with your feelings is because it's really important to sort of recognize when it comes up and when you think about it, how that feels, where you experience it in your body, and be able to just name it. Be able to name it and just sit with it for a while and say, what is it you're actually trying to tell me? There's often things that you may know already that we tell ourselves these things to keep ourselves safe. You know, we're like, stay safe, stay in your lane. Who do you think you are? Just, you know, stay back. But that's actually not helpful when you want to step forward and want to step into a role like CEO or want to step into being a senior leader. And it's going to feel uncomfortable, right? Who hasn't started something that they've never done before and felt discomfort? When you think back, if you learned to drive, you get in the car itself, just knowing where the indicators are or the windscreen wipers are, that's the first point. That's that surface level. That's that story. But then as we get used to the mechanics, it's then looking out broader, isn't it? And it's more about the feeling and it's more about the strategy and what's lying ahead. So it's really important to just connect with what am I telling myself? How do I feel? And why might this sort of be coming up? And just connecting with that and being comfortable and saying, I've got this. You know, I'm going to feel uncomfortable. I've never done this before. But now I just want to explore what might really be holding you back. And this is quite an interesting one, I think, and something that people don't often think about. And it's the fact that we fear sometimes the failure, but how many of you have explored the fact that we can actually fear the success? Imagine when you are a successful CEO at the top of your game doing what you're doing. Now, it might not have consciously come onto your kind of psyche about this, but what do you feel sometimes when we're successful? We feel we've got to make a trade-off of something. We feel we're going to lose something that's important to us. For lots of people, this can be around, if I become really successful, I'm going to lose more time. If I lose more time, I'm going to have less time with my family, or I'm going to have less time for the hobbies I love. And actually, those things you really need to fill your cup and make sure that it gives you that buoyancy for when those curveballs come in and you've got to push through and perhaps you do have a bit of a harder time. But it's really, really important to just know what you fear about success. So if you just want to think about that for a minute and just sort of explore that, is there anything that comes up for you that if you're really successful, what is it that maybe is holding you back? It's so great. Thanks for interacting so much. There's some great things in here. So I'm going to read a few out. Let's have a look. Oops. Others' envy or jealousy. So there's some judgment coming up there. Responsibility, people's reliance and letting them down. That's really interesting, Lucy. Is this actually my dream? Yeah, really important to explore that. Or is it something you think you should do, perhaps? Previously experienced burnout. Yeah. Fear of being in the same place again, I guess. Success at the cost of family life. Okay. But let me put this to you. If you start in this role, if you've explored it and it is what you really want, not what you think you should do or should have, or it's the next natural step, it's something that you really want to do. What if you start this role and you set your boundaries from the off? Your non-negotiables. Your boundaries are going to be, I need to have, 2 evenings a week when I finish at this time so that I can spend time with my family. Or I can make sure I do something that's a hobby for me that fills me up. Whatever it is that you want that to look like, that's okay. They are boundaries you should put in place. And imagine what that tells your leadership team, what that tells the people that you are leading at the top and the culture of the organization. It's saying it's okay to have boundaries. It's okay to have things that are important to you. It's okay to finish at 5 o'clock and go and bath your small kids if you've got them, or go and play squash or cycle on your bike for an hour if that's something that's important to you. The ripple effect is huge, because you're actually saying, this is authentic me, these are my boundaries, and this is who I want to be as a leader. And I'm letting you all know that this is okay for you to have things in your life that are important to you. I know that people that have CEOs that behave like that and have those boundaries and those values that they don't compromise on, they really connect to and they really engage with, because they are given permission to know that it's okay for them. So all of these things that you might fear in success, actually, if you know what you want your boundaries to be and you set those boundaries from the off, no compromises, then you're sending a very clear message about the type of leader you are and what you believe in. So just have a think about that and just capture that and remember that now. So we're now going to get on really clear on what it is that you really want. So I'm really sorry, I have the bottom of my page, the Zoom keeps coming up, so it covers up my slides. Okay. So let's get clear on what you really want. So imagine when you're the CEO you're destined to be, when you're the CEO that has these boundaries, when you're successful, whatever successful looks like for you. And what I want to do now is a bit of a visual exercise. It's something that I do quite successfully with some of my clients. So it's really great if you're in a quiet space, if you're in an office, hopefully you've got headphones in. And I just want you to kind of just sit, and we'll go through this exercise of visualization. And it just gives you a bit of an opportunity to glimpse at who you're going to be when you're a successful CEO and you're authentic to you. So this is an exercise that's in Coaching for Performance by Sir John Whitmore. And as I say, I'll just sort of read from the book. You can close your eyes if you want to. It can be quite good to help you visualize whatever works for you. But I want you to get into a comfortable position. Sitting with both feet on the floor. Notice how the ground feels under your feet. Roll your shoulders to loosen them. I definitely need to do that. But most important, notice your breath. Breathing in and breathing out. As you breathe in, imagine that you're breathing in clarity. As you breathe out, imagine that you are breathing out any worries or concerns. Take 3 deep breaths just like that. Breathing in clarity. Breathing out worries and concerns. Now imagine you are walking down a street on a sunny day. Look around and notice what the street looks like and what it feels like to walk down the street. The sun's on your face. You notice the flowers, the grass, the trees. In a moment, you're going to meet someone coming the other way. This person will be you in the future, your future self. Your future self is living their dream as a CEO. As you walk along, You see this person, your future self, in the distance, coming toward you. As you meet them, greet them. Notice how they greet you. Really look at this person. What do you notice? How do they behave? How do they make you feel? Is there a question you want to ask them? If so, ask that question now and listen to hear the answer. Now say goodbye to this person and thank them for coming to meet you here today. Take a couple of moments to come back to the present, starting by bringing your awareness back to how you're sitting. Next, wiggle your toes and fingers. Open your eyes and feel perfectly refreshed, revitalized and present. Write down what you wish to remember of the visualization as you bring it to a close. So is there anything anybody wants to share from that in the comments? Maybe what came up for you? Contentment, happy. Clear message, wow, that's good. Angela, realised what you're already doing, what you need to be doing. You were always able to do this. Strong, clean energy. Yeah. Calm, joyful, felt excitement. Okay, so make sure you capture all of this. You just sort of like journal it, or when you come off of this, write it down or voice note it to yourself if that's easier. Because in the times that you might need it, this is you. This is your future self telling you. This is who you want to be. This is who you're destined to be. And what's the risk if you wait? If you say, I'm not qualified enough yet, or I need more experience, or is that really me? What's the risk of waiting for this opportunity rather than just grabbing it and taking it? And it's interesting that nobody's future self, from what I can see in the chat, I don't know if you can, Shelley, that no one seems to have said, oh, the question I asked and the answer I got is I should have waited. I should have taken that extra course. I should have got more of experience. Okay. So thank you for letting me take you on that journey and really hold on to this like your compass point. And the reason I find it really important is often the anchor that when you want to know where you're going, focus on this. All your decisions from now, everything you do from now is to reach that destination. And you absolutely can do it. You have it in you. You're resourceful, you're talented. You can do it. If it's what you want, you can go for it. So sever those ties to those beliefs that are trying to keep you safe. And that's all they're doing, saying, thank you very much. I know you're trying to keep me safe, but this is where I want to go. Hence the compass on this visual. This is your compass point. Okay, so the other thing I want to cover now is just to explore your perspective on being a successful CEO. So sometimes we also think about others. So you now know who you want to be. You've got that clear in your mind. The CEO you want to be is now in your mind. But you'll still have times that you'll have a perception of who a CEO should be. And you may base this on past CEOs you've had. You may base it on CEOs that you see in the public eye. So what I'd like to do now is something a little bit interactive again. And that is, if you can scan, I'm going to switch across. This is the wonders of technology, and hope this works with Mentimeter. So there's a QR code, and if you use your phone, it should take you into Mentimeter that will ask you a question. And this is about just what you think the traits of a CEO are and what you need to have to be successful.
Cheryl, can I just ask, just whilst everyone's hopefully going into that one, someone has just asked, would you use this technique in a coaching conversation?
Yes, I would. I have done. So when I'm in, so is that in the context of having that initial coaching conversation? Probably not. If it was a coaching session, I would do, yes, but I'd certainly contract for it and make somebody aware that that was something I wanted to explore to make sure they were comfortable with it. Does that answer the question, hopefully? Okay. So let's see. Thanks, Shelley. Let's see what we've got coming up. So the traits of the successful CEO, I love this, how it just moves around and it's interactive. But the big words are kind of the ones that are coming up most. So we're on repeater. So we've got confident, sat right in the middle there, visionary, empathy, strategic, inspiring. There's a whole range of diverse CEO traits. So the first thing I notice is CEOs aren't a carbon copy, are they? They're not somebody that is the same that goes into every single organization. They're very different. They bring in their own identity, their own authenticity into the role that they do. And they're choosing the organizations they want to work with, you know, what aligns with you, what you're about. Choose and be really intentional about the organization you might want to go and work for. And what would be interesting to do is thinking about the CEO you want to be. This isn't the CEO you think you should be, the CEO you want to be. In that visualization, that was the direction you want to go. So when you notice that person coming towards you and having that conversation with you, what are the 3 traits that you see in some of these words here that resonate mostly with you? So maybe just pick 3. I know they're kind of still moving around a bit at the moment. But what are the top 3 that you would say that resonate most with you? And jot those down. And they're usually an indication of where you've got your strengths. And now on the flip side of that, note down the 3 that maybe you repel from. What I mean by that is it's a bit like a magnet. You might see a word and go, oh no, that's not me. That's really not me. So write down any that come up for you like that, the top 3 for that. And just taking those forward, just challenge your thinking around why you distance yourself, why you don't see yourself in those words. And is that really true? And is it worth exploring with people that know you really well or work with you, just to see what they see in both the ones you resonate with and the ones that don't resonate with you? If you find that you don't have those strengths, because we won't all have everything, that's a really intentional thing to take forward and know that you need in the leadership team around you. And what a great strength to know. These are my strengths. So I need to ensure that the team around me, someone else has got these other strengths and traits that are needed to support the business, to support me to be us to be successful. So it's a really good way of just being aware of that. And just keep in mind, this is about the CEO you're destined to be. If anybody wants to share in the chat what they see or what they saw their strengths as, that would be really great. Just going to try and flick between my screens again if I can. Okay. What have we got, Shelley? Anything coming through? Did anybody share any of their strengths?
Not just yet.
No? Okay.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. I love that. Repelled, independent, tough, commercial, visionary. Okay. But saw your strengths as, this is Catherine, resilient, empathetic, driven. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that. And just challenge your thinking around that, Catherine, with the ones that you did sort of go, oh, it's not me. Is it really not you? Or is it just because in your mind, your perspective of yourself, you don't see it? So do others see it in some way? So it's worth just challenging that with people that know you well. Things will be jumping all over the place today. Sorry. Let's find that. Okay. So what are you going to do now? I always love to take people and them to take away something so that it's not just like, well, that was a great webinar, Cheryl, but what am I going to do with that? So, you know, let's think about what you're going to do next. You now have noticed the story. You have connected to the block and the feeling and how your mind might be working there. You know what you perhaps have a block with regards to success, what's tethering you with regards to being really successful and what you might fear around that. And you're mindful of how it limits you. And you're going to remember the CEO that you're destined to be. But how are you going to continue the journey? Nobody can do this on their own. It takes work and it does take people sort of challenging you. So who is it you're going to ask to support you on this journey to CEO? Who do you need around you? It might be that it's a good mentor. It might be it's a coach. It could be that you need to know what your leadership team might look like and those people. But who could that be? Who's in your network as well that could support you? So maybe just capture some thoughts around that now. And what are you going to believe about yourself now? Now you've had that future chat with yourself and you know that the CEO you're destined to be, what are you now going to believe? So when you get that story coming up, the feeling coming up, that you can instantly counter with and say, no, I've got this, thanks. I can be a CEO. I know the CEO I want to be. And I'm going to get there. What are you good at? We've touched on that a little bit. And what team will you need around you? So take those actions and think about what the intentional next step, first step towards what you want is going to be. And share that with someone. We're always better when we have some accountability from somebody. So I'm going to ask you again now. We started off the beginning of this webinar with a question. And that was, do you think people don't become CEOs because they don't have the skill or the knowledge, or they don't have the belief? So has that changed anybody's thinking that perhaps had some different thinking at the start? And maybe share what you are now going to believe about yourself and getting you to where you want to be. So what do we have? Anybody going to share their new belief? will be great. Nicola, the belief is inside us. You just need to find it. Absolutely. I love that. I can set boundaries. Yeah. That's right. Practice visualizing my CEO self. Yes, you can all do that. You can all take that away. Trust myself. Shifted from need for belief to need for the vision. Yes. Keep going back to my future self for reassurance. Yes. Trust the future self's inner wisdom. Yeah, I love that visualization, because I think sometimes it reminds me of the kind of analogy of when someone goes to pole vault, you know, when they're in the Olympics and they have that huge pole and they just take that first step forward and they have complete faith that they are going to put that pole where it needs to be and get over the pole and the height and everything. And it just happens, right? Because they just trust the process. They trust their future vision that they are going to clear it. They don't think, what if I hit the pole? What if I fall? Because they can't let that in. If they let that in, it takes them off course. It takes their focus away. They just purely focus on going forward and where they want to be. Sharon, realizing that knowledge gaps shouldn't stand in the way. Self-belief will help me seek out others to fill the gaps. Absolutely. That's brilliant. Thank you all for sharing. I'm so pleased to see those, because you're all amazing people who can definitely do this. Okay, so I love this quote from Brené Brown. She says, we can't ask people to give us something that we believe we are not worthy of receiving. And I think that is so powerful. If you really think about that, how can you expect someone else to have faith and believe in you if you don't believe in yourself? So carry that forward, hold it tight. So that's the end of the session with me. You can absolutely ask me questions, anything. Take the rest of this time to ask me anything you want to. If you want to take the next step towards what you want, and you'd like to sign up to get details of my 5-step Amplify program, you can do on my website there by adding to the contact. I also provide leadership, facilitation and coaching. So if there's something there that you want to ask me about, then please do. I will be hanging around in the Facebook group as well for those of you that have joined. So you can always take the opportunity to ask me something there if you reflect on it and you want to. So do we have any questions from anybody?
Lots of lovely comments at the moment, Cheryl. So just thanking you for a great session.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you for participating. It's been great, and for going through the visualization.
Yeah, lots of
You're welcome. Thanks, Stacey. Great. So just take your action, take the next step forward, believe in you. You can absolutely do this. I'm always a great champion. I have great faith, especially for women in business. I think it's we definitely have that inner power. We just need to release it. It's there. You're welcome. Thanks, Catherine. Thanks, Sharon. Nontu, good to see you. Thank you. That's great. Thanks very much for being here.
Lovely. Thanks so much, Cheryl. It's been fantastic, and obviously great feedback as always from all the lovely attendees. Another fantastic, insightful session. I feel quite relaxed now after that one, so thank you. As Cheryl mentioned, we've got our Facebook pop-up summit group where all the speakers will be sharing resources in there, so feel free to hop in there and ask any questions. Likewise, if you need to speak to Inga Company, please feel free to email us. We have one final session of the summit on at 3 o'clock with Paul, and so please stick around for that one. We will be ending this session now and reopening again at 3 o'clock. So just like to say thank you again to Cheryl for being here, and hopefully see you all very shortly.
Thank you. Bye-bye.